New reporting reveals that USAID and a CIA analyst were behind a project that later led to one of Trump's impeachments. Independent journalist Michael Shellenberger joins us to try to convince me that I should believe this. Shelley, always a pleasure. Good to see you, Mike.
Great to see you, Chris.
So, sell me on it. How much do you believe this?
Well, look, here's what we know. We know that USAID effectively created this organization called the Organized Crime and Corruption Research Project, Reporting Project, OCCRP, which nobody's heard of, but it teams up with well-known news media companies around the world. We know that it would not exist had it not rerouted a State Department grant from its narcotics enforcement division through USAID, and that USAID can sign off on all of the senior, has a requirement to sign off on all the senior staff and on the work plan. We also know that it did the foundational research that was essential to bringing the impeachment case against Trump in December of 2019. It was what the CIA whistleblower relied upon in his initial complaint in December in December of 2019. So those are the facts of it.
Wait, explain that part. Explain that part, Michael. Explain what they funded and how it's connected to what the CIA agent and who that was, what we know, because I thought it was the original guy was the British guy that was hired by the Oppo research place that Clinton had been working with, and he was collecting it from his sources. What are you believing now?
Yeah, I mean, this is the case of you remember, this is where Trump talks about the perfect phone call with Ukrainian President Zelensky.
So this is his second impeachment.
Impeachment, yeah, of 2019. So this is basically a situation where the CIA person in the White House who'd been left over by Obama writes a complaint describing alleged violation of the law. This was then picked up and the House impeached Trump. The Senate, of course, declined to hear it. But I think what's so interesting here is that this is an organization that's behind it, that's funded by USAID, that would not exist without USAID, engaging in what I think you have to consider to be domestic politics, which is absolutely forbidden. You have to remember that our intelligence agencies, our foreign policy establishment, of which USAID is a big part, it's not really an economic development agency. I think people misunderstand that part. It's really about soft power. It's about establishing the power of the United States in like an aggressive way, including in regime change. The head of this group, OCCRP, actually brags of helping to change the governments in 4 or 5 different countries, actually brags of the regime change. So this looks like regime change tactics that the CIA and USAID had done abroad being brought back home against Donald Trump.
So why did we need that? And what did they do that was on top of what we already knew? The call happened. It was recorded. There's no question that Giuliani was mucking around over there and that Trump absolutely connected the relationship with Ukraine to what they could do to help Giuliani's efforts. So why did they need any OOCRP or whatever they're called? And what do you think they added to the stew?
I mean, I think the latter is not something that you have a consensus on in both parties, obviously. I mean, it was a partisan vote. It was Democrats. There's no Republicans that they got in the House.
100%.
The Senate obviously didn't hear it. And, Zelensky himself said he didn't feel pressured by Trump to go and dig up dirt on the Bidens. So that's just a matter of disagreement. It's I think if you look back retrospectively, it's a pretty thin case for impeachment. It's supposed to be high crimes and misdemeanors. So then you have to ask, well, where does it come from? And when you see that the two main organizations behind it are the CIA and USAID, which is basically considered a front-facing regime change organization for the U.S. government. CIA is covert. USAID is sort of the overt. For U.S. allies, it's propping up governments, it's doing work to support them. For countries that would get change in government, we're trying to interfere politically to overthrow them. That's what we do. That's what our global policy has been. Look, I mean, so one possibility, and I don't know that this is the reason, I haven't heard from my sources, but I mean, look, you have an agency that was engaged in what appears to be domestic politics going all the way back to Trump's impeachment. Could that have been one of the motives for why they decided that this was an organization that had to pay a very high price? I mean, it's really really shutting down the whole organization.
Hey, thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget, click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.